guys, what's up? My name's Kelsey and welcome back to my channel, Ruffalo Reads. So happy New Year's Eve if you're seeing this on New Year's Eve. If you're seeing it after, happy New Year's. I hope you had an amazing Christmas and a happy New Year. Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 of 2022. So this is mostly going to be romance. There's a few thrillers in there and a couple nonfiction. So this year's been wild for me for reading. I started my channel this year. I really got into my kind of bookstagram, if you will, this year. Before I'd started it before, but I kind of like just didn't really know what to do, and I just had it but wasn't really using it. So I'm really excited. I found a lot of cool people in this community, and it's been really fun getting to chat with people and, you know, see what excites people, see what's different about us and what's the same and what we all like and dislike. So without my further ramblings on, I'm gonna get into my top 10. I know some people do this, like, you know, your least favorite to your most favorite, and I love that for them, and that's amazing, and I wish I could do that. But for my mental sake right now, I'm just gonna say these are just my top 10 blanket. They're not like in order any kind of way. So let's do it. Oh, and let me address this setting, by the way. It's so dark in my house right now. Like, it's literally raining, pouring, so dark. My ring light is just like piss poor, to say the least. So this is what we're working with. We're in my living room. So welcome to my living room. If you haven't seen one of my like 2 vlogs, then welcome to my living room. Okay, so I want to start with a book that I feel like a lot of people have on their list, and it's one I read earlier this year and that will forever stick with me, and that is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I found Jennifer Hartman this year. I've read this one and Lotus, and I love Lotus as well, but we're sticking with one. So if you don't know what this is about, it follows Cora and Dean. Dean is Cora's sister's fiance, and they have this kind of antagonistic relationship, right? So they're going out for Cora's birthday the one night, and Dean and her sister leave to go to sleep, and Cora stays. She gets a little too drunk and can't find a ride home, and so she calls she calls her sister doesn't answer. She calls Dean, and Dean answers and comes and gets her. They're run off the road by this psycho serial killer and held in his basement for I think like a week together, and they're tortured and forced to do acts with each other as well. It's heartbreaking, but once they get out of that situation, they have to kind of go back to their lives and figure out, like, you know, what is this new normal for them? What are they gonna do, really? Because they're relying, Cora was relying on Dean a lot, and they kind of have this codependent, I guess, bond, but they have to figure out themselves and then figure out what they need from themselves and with each other, and it's beautiful. It's heartbreaking, and there is a lot of triggers, but I would still highly recommend to mostly everyone, really. I mean, it's amazing. So highly love this one this year. Next, I want to go to one that I think is super underrated, honestly. Like, I've definitely seen people talk about it and read it, but I freaking love this book, and that is Emma Scott's Between Hello and Goodbye. I tabbed the ever-loving out of this book. I love it so much. It's between oh my gosh, I can't remember names. It's between Faith and Asher. Faith is like this city girl who's kind of been partying hard and has this really high profile job, and they recognize how great she's doing, but they're also like, hey, you come in late a lot, like you're partying too much, you have no direction. We want to promote you, but we're not feeling very confident in that. So why don't you take a little sabbatical kind of thing and come back to us with what you want? So she decides to go to Hawaii by herself and decides to go on a hike by herself, and ends up by straining her ankle, and then Asher, who is a Hawaiian firefighter, comes to her rescue, and they form this kind of friendly bond because Faith is like, you know, I'm just gonna cut this trip short. I'm already, you know, screwed myself. I can't do any kind of activities while I'm here, so I might as well just go. And he's like, no, like, I'll look after you and make sure you have a fun time and la la la. So this is their form, this is what forms their bond, and they have a lot to figure out over time of, like, they do fall for each other, and he's from Hawaii, she's from like Chicago, and she has this amazing job, and he has formed his life there. His brother and his wife are there, and his nephew, and he just escaped the kind of city life that he was over because some things had happened in his past as well that really traumatized him, let's say. So this is beautifully written. Also, it's just fucking beautiful. Sorry, I swear a lot, guys. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just really beautiful, okay? Like the little page break things are adorable. It's broken into parts. It's really cute. And this was honestly, I believe, the first book I ever read from Emma Scott, so I am very much interested in reading more. I know she has a good backlist. Not interested in the YA ones, but love. Highly recommend. Please read it. So next up, I'm gonna bring up another one that a lot of people are probably putting on their list, and not this one in particular, but just this series. And for good reason, I found Sarah Kate this year, and my favorite is Eyes on Me from the Salacious Players Club. This whole series follows like the opening of this kink club, and where it's like a safe space to explore your fantasies and whatnot. And it follows like each person that is a part owner, I guess, kind of, and their interwoven relationships. And the thing about this is they're all, of course, really smutty, which we love. For romance, but they also have a lot of development and a lot more to it than just that. And this one in particular is, I don't know, probably the least like emotional maybe of them. Like I can think of some other ones and I'm like, yeah, you had to really like develop a lot for that. But this one's like, he finds his stepsister, like she's a cam girl, and he finds that, and he's always kind of like had the hots for her, but like doesn't want to admit that. And then he likes watching. So that's the start of their relationship. And I just like the taboo, forbidden kind of like sexiness aspect of that. This book was so hot. I tabbed the shit out of it. I loved it. I love Sarah Kate, and I can't wait to read more from her. Me and my fiance are actually reading Mercy right now together, so that's really fun. But yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the Salacious Players Club series, like literally, what are you doing? Because it's amazing. All right, let's break it up with a thriller. So I know probably most people on here are following me for romance, but I do read a variety of things. I'd say I should like try to look up the stats, but it's like mostly romance, some mystery thrillers, and then some memoirs. I love a good memoir. I only listen to them though, because I like hearing like the emotions of the author telling their own story. Anyways, this is a thriller, and it's Ashley Winstead's In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and this was so good. It was very intense. So we're following Jessica Miller, who graduated 10 years ago, and she's going to her college reunion. So 10 years ago, one friend in their kind of clique or friend group or whatever was murdered, and she was like the goody two-shoes girl that everybody loved. And you know, she wasn't like the prettiest, or she didn't stand out the most, but she like kind of always got her way because she was just nice and like everybody liked her, I guess. So we're going back and we're in Jessica's head for I want to say the whole thing, if not the majority of it, just overall. But we uncover a lot of secrets. There's lots of twists and turns. I did not really see the person that did it coming, really. The ending was wild, like a lot. But it's definitely fun. Like it keeps you on your toes, and I think that Ashley Winstead just has a really great writing style, and it keeps you enthralled the whole time. And for a thriller, I think that says a lot. That's kind of what you want for a thriller in my mind. To not want to put it down, to want to be like, oh my god, like what happened, like who's involved, what friend is shady and what's not. There's also some different kind of romantic elements in this as well, not like ones that you hope for, but ones that aren't good, I'd say. But yeah, this is just a messy, dramatic thriller, really mystery thriller. And I would recommend, if you haven't tried Ashley Winstead, I read both of her books this year, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife and The Last Housewife. They are both, like, you can tell it's the same author, but they're both totally different. All right, so I have two of this author's books on my list, and I didn't find them this year, but I had been like I read one of their books and I enjoyed it a lot. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars, but I kept being like, I don't know if I want to read, you know, I don't know. I kept pushing it off. So the first one I want to talk about, because I did like it less, I'd say, than the other one I'm going to talk about, but I still freaking loved it, and that's Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This book was so great. Like, I was just reading it and I was like, what am I reading? How did I put this off for so long? It follows, who does it follow? Jordan and Pike. So Jordan is currently dating Pike's son, and he is an asshole. He's partying a lot. He's never home. He doesn't help with the bills. So basically they're forced to move in with Pike, the dad. And Jordan and Pike had this encounter, not sexual or anything. It was just like a friendly kind of encounter one time before they knew who the other was. And when they see each other when they're moving in, they're like, oh shit. So forced proximity community. We love to see it. And then obviously it's boyfriend's dad. So she does fall for Pike and they form a relationship. But we get to see the unraveling of Jordan and I can't remember the son's name. I don't think it really matters, but we follow the demise of her and the son's relationship and what he's been doing. There's a lot of cute scenes. There's a lot of spicy scenes. There's no cheating on the main two's part in this, which I appreciated. There is obviously a huge age gap as well. So I don't know. I think that this was great. Pike's obviously also a little damaged from his relationship with the son's mom because she just kind of left and wasn't really maternal and wasn't really looking to settle down. And so there's that kind of thing where he's hesitant to jump into anything with somebody, and I don't think that he necessarily wants any more kids, and she's younger, so he's worried about that. So it's all that good stuff. And then he also is like a construction, like I think he like owns a construction company or like something awesome. So that's pretty hot. Yeah, and it was really good. Read it. It's Forbidden Taboo greatness, which I'm finding that's the stuff that I love. Forbidden Taboo. Good. All right. Another one that I want to talk about is, which I don't own, is Parallel by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This one was so wild. I think I saw Jess from Peace Love Books talk about it and I was like, huh, that's weird. Like she mentioned it a few times and I was like, okay, let me try it. So it's like this kind of time traveling romance, which I hear that and I'm like, that's kind of whatever. But it's so good. It's so good. It's so weirdly interesting. So this woman has like dreams of this specific guy. Like this is the guy. She can see his face, see his figure, see his form, has memories, full-blown memories. It's not like she's dreaming. It's like she's living those moments. And then but in, you know, when she's awake and walking around and in this time frame, I guess, really, she is engaged to this guy who he's fine, he's whatever, but he's not the one. He's not somebody that's like sparking anything in her. And her mom's like all on board. Her mom's like, yay, you're getting married. They're at the venue and they're going through this, and she's like, this is just like, I'm just like floating in a cloud in my life. Like I don't feel like I'm really like, you know, this isn't supposed to be. And her mom is like weirdly trying to be like, no, like this is what you're supposed to be doing. And it's just interesting. She falls and gets a boo-boo and has to go to the hospital, and there her doctor is the guy from her dreams, aka Memory, and he doesn't have these same memory feelings that she does, but it's something similar. He's like, I know you, like I'm pretty sure I love you, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be with you. So then we tumble through, and then that guy also has a, I don't think fiance, but a girlfriend that lives with him. So we tumble through them getting like kind of getting together, I guess, and figuring out that like they belong together and trying to uncover like, are these her memories, and figuring this out and figuring it out together. But then they're also trying to navigate their personal relationships that they currently have and figuring out like, okay, do I risk it? And then there's also like this sinister person that's trying to stop them from being together. Why? We don't know. This ends on a cliffhanger. I haven't picked up the next book though, which is so bad, but this was amazing and I want to own it and I want to read the next book at some point. All right, let's switch it up and talk about a nonfiction. So I have I'm Glad My Mom Died, and I'm sure if you're following anybody that reads a lot more than romance, or that reads that doesn't read romance and just reads like literary fiction and nonfiction and whatnot, I'm sure you're gonna see this time and time again. I wasn't like a watcher of iCarly. I was like babysitting my sister and cousin who were watching iCarly, but that doesn't matter. It still intrigued me. The title alone and the cover alone intrigued me. It's just jarring. You're like, wait, what? So this book obviously follows Jeanette McCurdy's life and kind of what her childhood was like with an abusive mother and very controlling family, a hoarding mom. She also interslices it with like humor, so it's not so like downtrodden. You're not feeling like totally terrible the whole time, but then also like her experiences with certain men in the entertainment business and how she was really pushed to be an actress when that's not what she wanted. And then also like how her mom was very, very controlling, especially with eating. So there's a very big trigger warning for eating disorders, eating abuse. She is a talented writer, and the story that she had where Nickelodeon was like trying to blackmail her was wild and also not wild. Like you hear this stuff, but to hear it from her and hear her say to them, no, I'm not going to take your deal. I'm not going to take your money, and I'm going to tell my story however however the hell I want was great. And I hope that she has made that money and then some with this book. And I think that she also plans to write more. And I think that I heard she wants to write like novels as well, like fiction. So that would be really cool and really interesting because I think she has a voice and she has a way with words, and I would be totally interested to see what that's all about. So I highly doubt you haven't heard of it, but if you haven't, and if you haven't heard it, read it, or listened to it, I highly recommend listening to it, and I would, pick it up. Okay, next up is a book that was not really on my radar at all, and a book that like took me by storm because I absolutely loved it so much. I was driving around one day just doing like different things and by myself and could not stop listening to this book, and that is For Lucy by Jewel E. Ann. I discovered Jewel E. Ann earlier this year, or maybe mid this year, because of Cheyenne from That Tall Book Girl recommended me to read The Fisherman Duet by her, which I absolutely loved. That was so fun. But this one just takes the cake for me. Oh, it was heartbreaking, and the way she told the story was incredibly unique. So it is a romance, but it deals heavily with loss of a child, and it's told solely from the perspective of the dad. So that's not something I would ever thought that I would like love as much as I did, but I love this book so much. I was sobbing at multiple points, and you know, I am a mother, so maybe obviously certain points hit me harder than if I wasn't, but just God, the emotions and like finding each other again, and you know, being there for your child who is still alive because it was the younger child, and then helping your older child. I don't know, it's just, I can't even describe it because I just loved it so much that I just can't even put it into words, and I don't want to spoil anything about it, about plot wise or what was done, but just know that it's amazing and you should read it. Unless, you know, obviously if what I said, child loss is it, I mean, that's just triggering, I would think, to everybody. But if that's something you can't handle personally, then, you know, don't read it. But if you can, and it's nothing graphic or anything, but if you have room in your heart to feel all the feels and to be taken along through this beautiful story, then I would highly recommend. And I love her note at the end, because I don't know if this is a spoiler. I love the note at the end because it really nailed home the importance of certain safety that people probably don't think about as much as they maybe should. And that's all I'm gonna say. I loved it so much. Never cried so hard probably all year. So read it. All right, next up, let's get into one that I most recently read. So I had seen this series going around everywhere, and I'm of course late to the train, but it's Catherine Cowell's Tattered and Torn series. So this one's the first one, Tattered Stars. I actually got it from my mom for Christmas off my wish list, so thanks, Mom. And I devoured it within 2 days because, you know, I was home visiting with family and stuff. The chapter headings are gorgeous. The book is just gorgeous. And then, so I'm just gonna say a quick tangent before I talk about it. I finished this and immediately downloaded or bought the next book on Audible because I was like, I cannot stop. I have to see what's next. I have to see who's next. All right, so this is a small town romance and small town kind of suspense romance, and it's between, which one is this? Between Hayes and Everly, right? So, okay. Hayes' sister, Shiloh, was kidnapped when they were kids by Everly's dad. And Everly's family is kind of the type of people, it's kind of cultish. Like, they don't believe in that the laws are their laws. They believe that, like, I'm assuming they're religious, kind of. Like, they live off the land, and they don't believe in modern medicine, and they don't take their kids to anything. And the women need to pretty much be silent and do what they're told and just be there for the men. Like, that's what it's like. And she ratted her dad out and fled, and her family pretty much exiled her, and she was sent to live like with her aunt somewhere else. So fast forward now, it's the future. Well, it's not the future, but fast forward and she's an adult now, and she came back and was gifted where she grew up. It's like a ranch in this small town in her mother's will. And Hayes is the guy. He does not take kindly to her returning to town. He's very like, why the hell are you here? Get the hell away from us. You're gonna ruin my family and dredge up all kinds of terrible memories. And she's like, you know, trying to be headstrong and being like, like, no, you know, I want to turn this from something negative into something positive. I want to make an animal sanctuary and live my life here and love the land, because I think they're like in Oregon or somewhere like, you know, very like picturesque. Like obviously like you can see like mountains and whatnot. So they live somewhere like Midwest, I'm assuming. So anyways, this is their romance. There's a side plot that's like a suspense mystery kind of thing where she's like a little in danger in the town. Her family that's still there, like her brother, is an absolute psycho and does not take her being there well. There's also another character in this book that they help to save, like to get away from that family and that kind of part of town, I guess. So that was really beautiful. I don't know, it was just so beautiful. And this isn't like, you know, you're not going to read this for steam and spice, but not every romance has to be that. And I think that their bond was beautiful, and the way that their love story kind of fell into place was beautiful. So I would highly recommend. And their books in these series are all like fairly short. Yeah, this is 304 pages. So I would say give it a go. I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you haven't read it, give it a go. All right, next one I'm going to talk about a little bit quickly because I feel like it's so freaking dark, and I apologize. I actually just got a camera, so I'm hoping that my future videos are going to be a little more better quality and better lighting and stuff, so we'll have to figure that out. But because I feel like my townhouse is in the worst area for lighting, sadly. Anyways, this is the next book by Penelope Douglas, and I know you guys have heard of it. I know you guys probably heard me talking about it if you've watched, you know, my videos or seen my Instagrams or anything, but I love this book. So I obviously heard about it before, but Tori from Novel Life was like raving about how much she loved it. And I was like, really? It just like, the cover did not appeal to me. It's just like, it did, first of all, this doesn't scream romance. Obviously it screams like boring wilderness, like fiction. I don't know, like it doesn't appeal to me. So actually though, it's very exciting, and one of my, I mean, all these are my favorites of the year, but one of my all-time favorites of the year and favorites in general, like literally love you. Love you. This is between Tiernan and her step uncle and step cousins. They're two step cousins. She only ends up with one at the end. We've already gone through this. There's no like, I don't know. You have to go on the journey with them, okay? It's kind of a big book, a little bit. It's not too big, but just the person she ends up with is my favorite, and that's what I was hoping the whole time and kind of thinking that it would go, but their interactions are just amazing. Oh God, there's a scene in the basement that we love. Like the dad walks in and is like, what the hell is going on? And the scenes with the dad, because at first she was like, I think at first she was hooking up with the dad, and I was like, what? I mean, it was hot and interesting, but I just was like, seriously? I don't know. So they're like really secluded. They have to fend for themselves. They have to, like, especially in the winter, like there's no way to really get into the town, I guess. So they have to like hunt and fend for themselves, and Tiernan's parents are terrible. At the beginning of this, she has to go live with them because her parents have killed themselves. Trigger warning for like unaliving yourself. But her parents were terrible to her. Like she was basically like a piece of furniture to them. So she's sent to live with them. But where she came from was her parents were extremely wealthy. And I guess she learns that the uncle was also like that, but he chose this life. So that's very kind of intriguing for her. She never felt like she was doing what she was meant to do. And she finds her way here. The epilogue is cute. And I don't know, read it. I know the cover is like blah, but well, maybe it's exciting to some, but to me the cover's blah and it put me off. But I'd say if you love taboo, forbidden goodness, read it. All right, last book on my top 10 best books of the year. And then I have two, I think, honorable mentions. Last book is another nonfiction, and it's What My Bones Know. This is another one that I could not stop listening to. It is absolutely terrifyingly hard to read at times. This woman has gone through so much. I don't know how much I want to say about it, but this is a story about, well, it's her memoir, and it's about overcoming childhood trauma and repeated childhood trauma. And I felt for this woman, and I connected with this woman, and I heard her pain. So I feel like a lot of stories like this, they tell those tales and kind of go through that, and then they go to where they are now and everything's great. This woman has gone through so much, and she tells us that. And then we go through her life now, but it's packed with her journey. And that's like, I think, not the point, but kind of the message that I think she wants you to take is kind of very clear, that therapy. She tried so many different avenues, so many different methods, different psychotherapeutic drugs. I don't know what the right term is, but psychopharmaceutical drugs. She tried a lot of like depression meds and bipolar meds, and finally came to her diagnosis of being diagnosed with CPSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and trying to spread the word that, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder is not just for war heroes. Like, it's for people who've experienced trauma, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder is for people who've experienced multiple traumas. And I related to, you know, some of this, and it was hard to read, but it was important. Some parts, I think that for me, I had to kind of blank my brain, because she does go into a little bit of details of her trauma that she experienced at the hands of her parents first, and that was rough. But she explains in the beginning, she's like, I know some parts of this are going to be hard for you to stomach as a reader, and if you need to, I understand you fast forwarding, but I felt that it was necessary, like, to put it in here to kind of show my truth and you know, get it out. Anyway, so aside from that part, the therapy part was like a huge bit of this and was really interesting. And she even put some snippets from one of her therapists that she found, like their interactions and how he broke things down with her and how they kind of worked things through. So that was really interesting. I think if you have any kind of interest in psychology and therapy or anything like that, this is really beneficial. I also love the cultural representations of this. I think that it's good to kind of broaden your horizons on the different things that you read and take in. So for anybody that likes memoirs and can deal with what I just said, I would highly recommend this book. And I think that more people, if they haven't, should pick this up as one of their memoirs. But that's all I'm going to say about that one. Sorry, we're kind of ending my top 10 on kind of a downer-ish of a note, but it does go out with like a hopeful, positive message, of course. And like, you know, it's great to hear somebody like actually working on their shit, their shit, and like trying to be better and get better and feel better. So let's go to my honorable mentions, and then we will be done. All right, so first honorable mention is one that I was kind of actually surprised to see that I read this year, but that is the Mind F series by S.T. Abbey. This freaking series was amazing. So I usually will read the first book and then read a different book of something else and then come back to the second one in the series and blah, blah, blah. With the Mind F series, I was like, da, 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 da. I remember just staying up so late at night with my Kindle, just unable to put this down. I'm sure you guys have heard what this is. The cover is atrocious. We all know this. Moving on. This is about Lana, our badass serial killing bitch. She was brutally, viciously attacked when she was younger by these townspeople, and she is seeking her revenge. And she falls in love with the serial killer. She falls in love with the FBI profiler who's working her case, and we love to see it. This book, or these books rather, just I want more like it. Give me something like this. I said in a previous video, I think my previous video to this, that I need to figure out what in dark romance I like, because I obviously love Forbidden and Taboo, which I don't necessarily think is dark, but I loved Still Beating. I love some mafia romances, oh my god, what's her name? J.T. Geisinger. Carnal Urges is one of my favorites, and that was a mafia, but it did also have some humor. So I don't know if maybe I feel like I need a dark romance with some light moments and some humor, some self-awareness. Doesn't take itself too seriously, because I feel like some of the dark romances that I read, it's really, I'm just sitting here seriously. And it's nice if it's recognizing that it's a bit ridiculous, which I feel like the Mind F series also did, because it's very dark and it's technically, I guess, a romance. To me, it's more like a vigilante justice type book with a very lackluster, mediocre side plot of a romance with some wet noodle guy who literally has no personality. But it's fine. They're addictive. addicting, and I'd love more like it. I do want to try Sophie Lark's Mafia series as well, but now I'm just getting off topic. Yeah, read the Mind F series if you haven't. I would assume they're still all on Kindle if you don't want to buy the ugly books, but yeah. They're so easy and quick too. They're basically like novellas, but like too long, I guess, to technically be novellas, but so quick, so fun, so addicting. Some parts of them can get extremely gory though, I will say, like extremely explicit. But I feel like that's more towards the end, the last book or something like that. But you can always skim, you know what I mean? Do what you gotta do. All right, and then I actually have this book upstairs. I forgot to grab it, but I didn't want to put this on my top 10 because while I did love this book, I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was so hyped up for me that I think that I just left it feeling like, okay, yeah, I loved it. It was great. And not like, oh my God, I loved it, if that makes sense. So that's Flawless by Elsie Silver. I have Flawless and Heartless. I got them for Christmas. I am really excited for Heartless. I've heard such amazing things from literally everyone. So I want to kind of like give myself a breather though, because I don't want to go into it being like, oh my God, everybody loves it. I'm going to freaking love it. But anyways, I don't want to harp on this too long. It's between our bull riding baddie and the woman who is tasked with keeping the reins on him, like keeping him under check, like keeping him from saying some dumb shit, doing dumb shit. And they fall in love. And it was very cute, very beautiful. There's a chap scene, which was hot. Rhett Eaton sounds gorgeous. Like, let's have a fun time. And that's all I'll say. All right, guys, that's it for my top 10 books of 2022. Thank you so, so much for watching. And until next time, guys, I will see you.